table here. Oh, it looks like I'm live. Yes, I am live. Well, how about that? Aloha, como mai. Come on inside. Come on inside. The lovely and talented Laura Wong Rose, unfortunately, cannot make it today because the doctor is in. And when the doctor is in, Laura likes to keep him busy, and that means she's busy as well. So she's down just past the 1 mile mark at the clinic, assisting the doctor in the many surgical procedures that they have scheduled for today. And so she won't be making it, unfortunately, because I depend on her to keep me moving, to keep us moving, and mainly to read the comments, of which, fortunately, right now, there are none as yet. So I'm going to start off. Well, I'm going to start off with a sip of tea. Yes. The sun is shining outside. It was raining earlier. Yeah, but it's sunny right now. And I have the current edition, yesterday afternoon edition of the Petersburg Pilot. So we can get to all the news that is worth listening to today. On the front page, the assembly, the borough assembly here in Petersburg, is discussing the future of a local dock ownership. There's a float down at Papke's Landing that's owned by the state, and they're discussing whether the borough should take over ownership and maintenance of it, which may or may not be a good idea. It all depends, I suppose. Big news in town: the Hammer and Weekon's convenience store, which was closed for several months, is now officially reopened. Still a little bumps in the road. I guess they don't have fully trained people there. I went over there this morning, and the big neon sign said it was open, but the door was locked. So, but that's okay. They just made a mistake about the sign or something of that nature. I don't know. We're not so totally isolated that we're completely cut off from what's going on in the rest of the world. We have our weekly report on the plague, the status of the disease that's sweeping through the whole world, I guess. Here in Petersburg, the current scoreboard here is. Can you see that? Scoreboard right there. There have been, since March of 2020, 218 positive test results. Now, for a long time, they're not doing it now, but for a long time, over a year, they were testing everybody who arrived. And I think they were testing people who left on the airplane too. But everybody who came in got tested, period. And of all those people who came in, visitors, returning residents and what have you, there were 218 positive tests. Anybody who went up to get tested, it's all included in there. So we're not doing too good on the national scoreboard. We're just barely down there at the very, very, very bottom. There are no active cases now. There have been no hospitalizations. No one's been evacuated for treatment. The only people that I've talked to, stayed home for a week or so, and that was about it. No one reported horrible symptoms or anything like that. We do get credit. Petersburg Borough does get credit for 3 COVID deaths. 3 COVID deaths, and kind of unearned because 2 of them were old men who were on their last legs. Let's face it. They had gone to Seattle to enter hospice. And after they got there and entered hospice, they contracted COVID-19 and they passed away in due course and were credited as COVID-19 deaths. The third one was actually a friend of mine, not a good friend, but someone I knew from the radio station who had a heart attack. And he was evacuated for treatment down to I suppose probably Bellingham, but anyway, down there to Northwest Washington. And while he was there, he contracted COVID and he died. Whether he died from the heart disease or from the COVID is unknown, but we get that score. So Petersburg 3 deaths for COVID. Boom, done with that. 100 years ago, in September of 1921, in September of 1921, the first phone call between Petersburg and Wrangell via cable. They had run a undersea cable to Wrangell, 40 miles away. And so they successfully completed that phone link, and it was a big deal in 1921. Let me tell you, you pick up your phone, you crank it, and you ask Janice to connect me to Wrangell, because that's the way it worked back then. 75 years ago, we were experiencing shortages here, or they were experiencing shortages of food, eggs, spuds, bacon, and flour. Oh, the bakery says they have enough flour on hand for another week. And then they'll be obliged to shut down unless more flour arrives here. So that's just one of those things about island living, and that's what our little blurb says, island life. You live on an island, you're at the mercy of the supply chain. And sometimes the chain doesn't quite reach. Every once in a while, there'll be no eggs in the supermarket because the barge didn't show up. But there are some people who grow chickens here, and if you have friends who have chickens, you can have eggs. In 1971, which would have been 50 years ago, there were some horses that were brought into town, and there were a lot of kids who had never seen a horse before, and so it made the newspaper, and it's the top item from 50 years ago in the Petersburg Pilot today. 25 years ago, in 1996, the most exciting thing that happened was a 404-pound halibut was caught by a couple of guys from Oregon who had come up here sport fishing. Can you imagine a 400-pound halibut? Dang. Okay. The ferry schedule, the tide table. Tides are not any especially interesting this week. We have a big election coming up on October 5th. And some of the things we'll be voting on is the hospital board members. We have our little Petersburg Medical Center clinic up here. And there are some other things going on with that. Let's see, free asymptomatic testing, vote by absentee ballot. The hospital board is one of the things we're voting on. Another thing is there are two propositions, one of which is a bond issue for, I think it's $7 million for our hydroelectric plant repairs. And then the other one is, what's the other one? What's the other proposition? Frederick Point, the Frederick Point subdivision being included in Service Area 1. They're getting taxed at the same rate as someone who lives right in town. But where they live, they don't get any services at all. There's no electricity, no water, no sewers, they don't even plow the road up there in the wintertime for snow. They don't get law enforcement patrols. They don't get volunteer fire service, but they pay the taxes for them anyway. And they want to get out of that, so it's on the ballot. And that's one of the things I get is there's a letters to the editor. No, those people should pay the same rate of taxes that are paid by someone who lives across the street from the school. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, if you're not getting the services, why should you be made to pay for it? But that's just my opinion. Let's see. The permanent fund. We're always talking about the permanent fund, especially this time of year, because the payments come out in October. Say the permanent fund could be a model for sovereign wealth funds globally. Basically, what they've done with the permanent fund is the result of state investing oil revenues into a fund, and that fund yields dividends, and every year they are supposed to pay out the dividends to all the citizens of Alaska. But of course, the politicians, them being so much smarter than all of us and all, they know better how to spend that money, and they don't think that we should be given that money to spend for ourselves. And in a lot of cases, they're right. Let's see. The good old police report. Police report's getting boring now because it's the canneries are closed, and a lot of the out-of-town workers are gone. So the usual thing, items lost. It's amazing to me that, if you lose something in this town, people will pick it up and take it to the police department and leave it there for you, and you can go there and get it. Or in some cases, it'll be announced on the radio, hey, I found this coat at the trailhead, or something of that nature, or a bicycle. It's amazing to me when we first got here. I remember distinctly seeing a bicycle at the trailhead for like 4 or 5 days. And I asked about it. So, oh, yeah, it's probably up there hiking. I'll be back. I said, sure, just leave it there. It'll be there when you get back. People do the same thing with their trucks in the parking lot, or their cars in the parking lot, and they leave their keys in them and they go fishing for a week. So every once in a while, someone will borrow your truck and not put it back in the same place. And so we get one of those reports of, my truck may have been stolen, but I'm not sure. So we have lots of black bear reports in the paper again this week. Black bears. We have brown bears too, but haven't been seeing them up on this end of the island. They're usually not on the north end of the island. They pretty much stick down to the south end of the island. But the black bears wander into town quite a lot. Oh, we've got some comments. Hi, Larry. I'm going to talk about Larry in a minute. Rob, good to see you, Rob. And Mark. That's the point of this channel. Local news is no interest to most people. Post flyers on power poles, maybe more readers. Yeah, well, you may be right, but I don't have much else to talk about right now. And we're kind of experimenting with this live stream thing. A lot of people do like hearing this, though, because it's so different from what's in your news. Pretty much guaranteed. How many people pick up their local paper and read about 5 different incidents of bears getting into the trash? 5 separate items about bears getting into the trash in the local newspaper. How about that? All right, so, and personal items found and things like that turned in. Kind of part of the reason I read this is because it's so boring. There's several pages devoted to the candidates for the local elections. Zoltan, you like hearing it? Well, I'm going to keep reading it. Oh, here's some good news, some really good positive news. High school sports are back. They had an intramural swim meet here in Petersburg with teams from, I believe, Ketchikan and Wrangell. The Viking Swim Club, Juneau, Ketchikan converged on Petersburg to compete in a 2-day meet. And all the news of who won what there. We're real proud of our athletic teams here in Petersburg. And there was also a cross-country invitational in Sitka. Wow. Check that out. Let me show you this picture. Can you see this picture? Look at that. Cross-country invitational in Sitka, Alaska. Sitka's not far from here, but it's on a different island. It's on the other side of Baranof Island. So to get there, you have to go around. Anyway, so yeah, those are big sports here. The Sitka Invitational. Sam up. You in a train? Am I in a train? Train? No, I'm not in a train. I am at the Petersburg Pet Center on Chief John Lott Street on the waterfront in Petersburg, Alaska, just across the street from Keto's Cave Liquor Store, Saloon, and Social Center, and just a few feet from Mindy's Salty Pantry, the best food in town for breakfast and lunch. City data says you had 2 cars stolen in 2019. Yeah, but where are they going to go? We're on an island. You just steal a car. Where's it going to go? I guarantee you those 2 stolen cars were recovered within 24 hours. Yeah. Oh, MP Schaefer, howdy. Peace. Well, it depends, I suppose. This symbol, a lot of argument lately about what different hand signals mean. What does that mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? What's the difference? This is the way Winston Churchill, see, I'm this old, actually, Winston Churchill's victory. So this is victory, this is peace. And you can modify that with other body parts to mean something else, but we're not going there. More good news. Remember, last week we mentioned that the king crab catch was down, but the Tanner crab catch is looks like it's hitting records. Very good news. A huge cohort of tanner crab that biologists have been tracking in the westward region for 3 years showed up again in the summer survey. So tanner crabs, if you're a fan. I'm not. Excuse me. Japanese culture being taught in the elementary school. I see a blonde, Swedish-looking teacher with a kimono and some little Norwegian-looking kids trying to eat with chopsticks. How cute! I don't. It's amazing to me that local candidates. I mean, there's 3,000 people in this entire borough on this island and on Kupernoff Island. I mean, you know everybody, and people are taking out big ads in the paper for election and re-election, which is kind of weird. Assembly passed the second reading of the liens ordinance, and we're going to vote on it October 5th. The borough manager's performance is being evaluated by the assembly. Oh, and there was a unanimous decision to extend his term and give him a 5% raise. Must be doing a good job. Or at least he's doing what the borough assembly members want him to do. Oh, here's the visitor industry looking forward. But that's Wrangell. Wrangell, they had a conference to discuss the visitor industry. Wrangell's embracing the visitor industry. They have a deep water port capability there, so the excuse me, so the cruise ships can dock there. They can't dock here. The Narrows is too narrow for them to come up and down the Narrows, and Frederick Sound. If they come in Frederick Sound from Chatham Strait, it makes it a dead end. They have to turn around and go back out. There's no way for them to continue on through. And also to drop passengers here, they have to anchor out in Frederick Sound and lighter them in. And then for the final pièce de résistance, icing on the cake, Petersburg has no public restrooms. So you can't unload 3,000 tourists on a town with a population of 2,500 with no public restrooms. You just can't do it. All right, okay. Petersburg Borough property tax foreclosure list. Apparently, here's a list of the people who aren't paying their property taxes. Property tax foreclosure list. So, we want to keep an eye on some of those in case you want to pick up a property cheap here in Petersburg. Okay, where are we? Larry Wills, you still with me, Larry? Oh, wait, can I finish? I didn't finish. I think it fell off. The ending of the Rainforest Festival, they had a virtual 5K run and walk. Virtual run walk? I'm not sure how that works. Virtual run walk. Santa Mulligan, 22:16 GMT. That's why I didn't put it on the thing this time, because I got it wrong last time and I embarrassed myself. It's a simple thing. You should be able to get that right. But I got it wrong, so I didn't put it in there. All right. Was watching the Albin Vega group on Facebook, and Larry Wills has been putting up a lot of pictures of his rather nice Vega. Well, it's nice now because he did so much work to it. I mean, he completely rebuilt that boat and did all the things that the manufacturer did not do. He went back and all those things that Albin Marin did to cut corners, Larry went back in and did it right. It's not to say that the Vega is made wrong, but there are certain things like, the bulkheads being screwed in with machine screws. Those holes elongate, the boat works. Not good. And he did a lot of modifications on the boat. The interior looks a bit Spartan to my taste, but boy, is it looking functional and strong. So if you're interested in finding out what a really, really intelligently modified Vega looks like, take a look at Larry Wills' Vega on the Facebook. I keep wanting to say Yahoo, but Yahoo no more. The Facebook Albin Vega group. And that is dang near everything I have to talk about. We've only been talking for 20 minutes. So other than my failure on the time zones, do I have anything over here to talk about with you guys? People keep asking what our future sailing plans are. And we had some pretty substantial plans until early 2020 or late 2019. And then we started working on this thing that Laura wanted to do with the veterinary clinic. And then 2020 happened. So March, April 2020, everything just kind of went sideways. We've been trying to pick it all up and put it back in the basket. Pretty well got it done. But we have no long distance sailing plans. We've been talking to people in Hawaii. We've been talking to people in Australia, New Zealand, even in the Philippines. And there's just no place we want to go right now because the places we thought of going look like they're pretty unpleasant at this time. California, nope. Have no interest in going to California. Very little interest in going to Washington. We are going to go to Port Townsend next summer, I believe. And that's going to present some great opportunities for video, no matter which way we go. If we go down the outside, which is kind of my preferred route, or down the inside, I guess it's 6.5 dozen of the other. The outside passage would be maybe faster, but we might be bucking the headwind the whole way. Small sailboats now for cruising the Pacific Northwest. Rob. On a boat with either an inboard diesel versus an outboard four-stroke. Inboard diesel, definitely. Inboard diesel. Bill Woolsey from Tennessee. Howdy. Hi, y'all. Inboard diesel, definitely the way to go. Now, there are advantages to the outboard, but you put an outboard on, all that weight is way back in the back. We took Lealea, which was an early Vega, Series 1 Vega, down the inside passage, and you can look that up in our video playlist, Lealea down the inside passage. We did that with an outboard, and we motored on the whole way. We didn't sail at all. A lot of people have done, made do with an outboard on a Vega. You have to reinforce the transom in order to do that. And there are some advantages in terms of maneuverability in tight places. So, it's definitely worth considering if you have a Vega or maybe a Contessa 26 or something of that nature. It's worth considering. But a good modern diesel, not the Volvo that came in the Vega originally, or the 022 gas engine. A modern diesel like a Yanmar or a Beta, a good installation. That's really the best way to go. It's a lot more expensive. Yes, that's true. But it's performance-wise, safety-wise, it's just the best way to do it. Anything else? Let's see. What do we got here? Sailing plans. So anyway, our sailing plans. We're not planning on going anywhere, really, except for down to Port Townsend to finish off the refit, get the boat painted. And then, by then, things change pretty rapidly these days. So, things are going to be, who knows what it's going to be like next year. I mean, if we had tried to look into the future, say in 2019, say summer of 2019, September 2019, if you had asked me these questions, you would be getting completely different answers. Because in September 2019, Australia and New Zealand were very real possibilities. Hawaii was a decent possibility, but conditions there now, no way. No way. I shouldn't really say that because I have friends on the Big Island, and the Big Island is not like what most people think of as Hawaii. Not upcountry Big Island anyway. So, yeah. There's no telling. There's no telling what's going to happen. We may go over to Warm Springs Bay during the wintertime. Laura really, really wants to do that. And it is kind of attractive going over there when there's snow on the ground and there's nobody else there. Of course, sure as heck you get there and there's somebody else there. Anyway, how do you stop the topping lift singing and vibrating in the night? I don't know what you mean. All of the lines. Here's a tip: if you have your boat, a sailboat in a marina where there are liveaboards, and people trying to sleep on their boats at night, the courteous thing to do is to lead all of your halyards and lines away from the mast, so that they don't bang on the mast and make all that noise. All that tinkling sounds nice, and it's all cool if you're having cocktails at the yacht club bar overlooking the marina, but it's not so cool at 2 a.m. when the wind is blowing and you're trying to sleep. All those halyards and ropes and lines and wires and stuff banging against masts making noise. So no, we just lead them away. The topping lift, of course, is holding up the boom on one end. On the other end, it's held away from the mast with, I think, a bungee cord or something pulling it out. But all the halyards and everything are led away from the mast so that they don't make noise like that. Anything else there? So, all right. Well, I guess that's it. Without my lovely and talented and young, beautiful wife, Laura, I guess no one wants to talk. We're just done here. Don't have anything more to say. And hopefully we can put something together that's more exciting, more interesting, and more valuable to you in the future. But this being what it is, aloha no kako, ahui ho. Aloha indeed to all of us. Until we meet again, I'm Chuck, hoping Laura will be here next time, and I'm sure you hope so too. See ya.